So we all have a lot of things to do in life, right? We have some goals, we have things that we want to pursue, and they're hard to pursue. But if we don't get them done, if we don't know how to execute, we're never going to get the respect that we're deserving. We're never going to get the people around us that we want. And frankly, those goals are never going to get accomplished. My name is Turab. If you want more inspiration about business, spirituality, networking, leadership on your feed, go ahead and subscribe. When it comes down to execution, my friend, you need to have a system in place that reminds you of the things that you need to get done. See, I have a lot of people that I talk to all the time for things that they need to get done. And the funniest thing is when they're new and they don't necessarily know all the skills, I have to constantly remind them, first of all, you're in 2025, baby. You gotta have using your technology, right? People are like, oh, I'm gonna take notes on a little sticky note. I'm like, okay, how many sticky notes you get at the end of the week? They got like a whole pile like this big, right? That's not useful for anyone. Use your technology, use your notes app, use boards like Trello or any sort of communication boards into your company. Super, super important. But first step, write the shit down. I'm sorry, you're not as smart as you think you are, all right? Every single person that I've ever met that have done productive things has written down a list of stuff to do and knocked it out. And knocked it out, not just written it down, by the way, right? So what does it require to knock something out? Is it enough to take a note that says media? Is it enough to take a note that says walk? You know, like a one-word note? No. Is it enough to have three words, right? So having a very specific understanding of like, dude, when I look back at this, am I gonna understand what this means? Right? Am I going to know how to communicate this in my own head when I have 5,000 things going on? So it's not just about writing it down, it's about making it efficient. Apple spends billions of dollars a year coming up with the correct words. Literally the correct words for us to be able to navigate their UI, their user interface efficiently. Billions of dollars a year. That's a skill that each of us can work on, right? Acronyms, they don't help anyone. Okay, Elon Musk took that out of his companies for a reason. So making sure that we're not only taking notes, but we're taking detailed enough notes so that when we're completely out of context, that when we look back at that thing, we know what to do. Step one in getting execution. Step two, right? In general, you got to have a discipline in life. You got to wake up consistently. You got to go to bed consistently. You got to communicate with people consistently at a consistent level. You got to make sure that you are the person that you say you are. At the end of the day, people are going to see through your bullshit, okay? Every single time that I've been in a room full of productive, useful people in life, the person that just comes in and says, oh, I do all this stuff, like they can see through you, right? The way that no one's going to talk about all the stuff they do when they're doing so much stuff, right? It's like the concept of a bodybuilder talking about working out all the time. Or the concept of a musician talking about music all the time. It doesn't happen, right? If you're really good at something, you're probably not gonna be talking about it all the time because it's fucking exhausting to be good at it, okay? So having discipline down at a basic level. If at a basic level you can't show up to meetings consistently, you can't wake up and go to sleep consistently, you can't get enough water in the day, you can't do the deadline, meeting the deadlines every single time, you gotta work on that. That's execution 101. And the greatest book that I can recommend for that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. That will make it crystal clear what you need to do daily to get to the point where you are at that level where people can actually rely on you, where you can actually get those goals done. And by the way, the tone of voice that people use, I mentor a lot of people and I have a lot of people that work for me, so I know these personalities. Every single time, the tone of voice will tell you what someone is going to be able to accomplish before they even accomplish it. Okay, if you have a conversation with someone, you say to them, hey, I need you to do this, or I recommend you do this, and they immediately go, well, but I got you. You already know that person is probably not worth investing in. Okay, and this is just some hard facts for you. If you're gonna run a company, this is the type of thing that you need to think about, right? If on the other hand, someone's like, okay, but you know, they have a little bit of higher tone, they have a little bit higher energy, you know that they're quick enough to actually start moving on this thing, right? But in our own head, in our own mentality, if we're making excuses all the time for the things that we know we need to accomplish to become the person that we want to be, right? Who are we shooting in the foot? We're not just shooting ourselves in the foot. We're shooting ourselves in the head, but we're shooting everyone else in the foot that we work with. right? High achievers do not want to work with people that can't execute, because then they'll have to pick up after them all of the time. And I see this with my staff. I see this with high-level C executive teams, right? When they see someone that they don't think can execute, they don't want to work because they know they're doing too much. And in general, execution, right? If you are not someone that can do that thing, there are ways to build it. And the ways to build it are reading consistently, strengthening your philosophy, understanding what you're good at and what you're passionate at. One of the exercises that I use for my interns all the time is think back to when you were 8 years old or younger. If you can figure out what those activities were that made you forget about eating, that made you forget about going to the bathroom, that made you forget about your homework, whatever it was, those are things that are innately passionate to you. You got to go and do those things in life. Secondly, reading the books from the people that have actually done the execution, okay? If you don't read the books from people that you want to be like, and instead you read books from randos, you're gonna turn out like a rando, okay? So go and read books that actually matter from people that have actually done the shit that they say that they've done. Furthermore, when it comes down to learning the philosophy, getting a mentor, getting that person that wrote that book to tell you advice that particularly pertains to your life, right? There is no substitute for that. There's absolutely none. And if you're looking to, you can join the Turabify Network. If you want to be something like me, I can give you some advice on that. Now, the other thing is, once you get that understanding of self down, mind you, there's a lifelong process, but hopefully by the age of 40, you've really figured out most of it. Once you get that down, then comes the immense task of getting more and more and more efficient with the way that we execute. Dan Martell has a phenomenal book called Buy Back Your Time. High-level executives are reading this book all the time. Last night, I had the chance to look at a spreadsheet that one of these executives put together. The amount of data that's available in terms of what they do in a 15-minute time chunk, how valuable that is in terms of how much money it makes and how passionate they are about that. There are ways to calculate things you wouldn't imagine that can make it so that you can literally get percentages of time during the week that you are wasting, that you are spending doing productive things, and that you are maybe networking or doing that investing in self, right? But that's a higher level thing. Don't get to that if you haven't figured out how to wake up in the morning. Don't get to that if you haven't figured out how to understand yourself and check in with yourself and self-soothe, right? That's not important. So actionable things. I always like to give actionable things. Actionable thing is, listen, if you have the intention of playing board games, right? You love playing board games. That's something that you can work on to build your execution skills. You're in college, you love to play board games. Schedule a time every single week that you are going to show up at a specific spot and have the board game set up for when people come and join every single time. I don't care if anyone says, oh, I can't show up today. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care if you have an exam the next day, right? It's all excuses. You knew you had the exam. You should have studied beforehand knowing that that time is going to be spent playing board games. So there's a level of undeniable execution that's required in life to get to the point where you have the data in yourself to say, hey, I know I can get this shit done. And the excuses are plenty. So work on the things that you're passionate about first, right? Work on your hobbies, work on showing up, work on communication. And that stuff will necessarily lend to all of the other beautiful things that I assume if you made it to this point in the video, you want to do. At the end of the day, my friend, we in society are judged in our success levels by the amount that we can execute. Your ideas don't matter, right? A little bit they do. The way that you walk, your swagger, the way that you talk, that doesn't matter, okay? The resources that you have matters a little bit, but really it doesn't matter. You can lose all those if you have shit spending habits. But at the end of the day, what really matters and what sets other humans apart from each other is execution. Get your shit done, stop making excuses, and figure out why you're making these excuses, and really surround yourself with incredible human beings like the ones from the Turabify Network. If you want more information, it's down below. Anytime that you are looking for augmentations in your life, if I'm the person that you came across, send me a comment, send me a DM. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.